Welcome to Reckless Speculation. We'll not spend the whole hour and a half on the Vols, Bama. Robbie Davis and I, if you hadn't seen it, have a special we recorded Monday night called Storm and Kneeling. So you may want to go back and get it. We're going to talk about Tennessee and Alabama tonight, but more about what happened as far as storming the stadium and stuff is on that Monday night special. Robbie Davis, that was a fun night. Recording that a couple nights later.
It was great, and it was great to be like kind of close to the moment. Can you share that link below? Do we know how to do that?
Yeah, it'll be. I'll have to put it in the comments after the show.
Yeah, if you can click on that and stuff just to watch. We're gonna touch a little bit about it today, but we did a 45-minute show, really in depth of what it was like to be there, and just that whole 15 plus years of frustration finally let out.
Robbie, I think I think I'm joking when I say I high-fived probably 5,000 people, hugged 1,000, and kissed somebody's random mom on the field after the game. But I did, and it was a great night. So we were just talking about it. We're waiting for one of us to get the flu, but hopefully not this week. Homecoming this week. And I'm so glad that we have a game like homecoming this week. It's going to be fun to go up and see old friends and stuff. I went up Tuesday night and I met with some friends that from going one of them all the way back to the third grade. Man, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, so, no, it was. Everyone was on the same page and celebrating as safely as you can. It was just a fantastic night, and from the top to the bottom, the president to the security guards to the janitors to everyone just made sure everyone enjoyed it, the moment, and did it safely and got out of the stadium without any incidents, besides an alleged Alabama player. But we'll talk about that maybe some other time.
I've had with the Knoxville police before, but they were outstanding that night. Outstanding. Yeah. All right, now coming in from the land of Big Ten, it is nice. Man, that's got to be a Fanatics. I'm going to guess about 119. Little pullover, his little Ohio State jacket. The man ahead of us in the poll right now, the Buckeye.
What's going on, man? Like you guys said, we'll get into that later. It was fun being a fan. You know, both Titans and Buckeyes were on a bye. I just got to sit back and watch football and really enjoy it, and no stress. And I did have the Vols as bet your nuts on the previous show. So, you know, hope you guys followed and cashed in on that, because that was straight cash, homie.
I jumped on one of those crazy like 5-way parlays for like $50 and ended up with more money than I've ever made gambling. Joining us below, if it wasn't for Tennessee, Alabama, I'd be in the same shape he is. Sports depression level severe. We're going to start this show, and we might as well fire up right now. Roger and I, two true blue baseball fans, on Saturday night, a few hours apart, lost two teams in the division series, and Raj, it was shocking to see the Braves and the Dodgers both go out in the division series.
Yeah, it wasn't awesome. I can't say I didn't think it was going to happen, but just like Tennessee fans, as an SC Dodger, nobody's going to shed any tears, but I always expect the worst thing to happen in every possible sporting situation, and this time it did. So yeah, not much to say about that.
Well, Raj, we'll come back to it in a minute, because I got some things to say about the Braves a little later on. But I do think I read an article that you know, maybe the Braves and Dodgers got caught in that little bit, take 3 days off, looking ahead, and the Padres and the Phillies just kept digging, and you know, we've seen it in sports before.
I mean, firmly believe that you can't duplicate the playoff situation. And that's one thing about the wild card that is shown time and time again, that when a team plays in the wild card and wins, they're in playoff mode already. And when you have teams that, like the Braves and Dodgers, especially the Dodgers, who didn't play a meaningful game for a month prior to the last game, until the playoffs, it's tough to overcome. And, they've got the juice of the fans, guys are hitting, and everything starts over, at least to one team, and usually that's to the winning team.
I got trolled a little bit, but I really didn't care that much. So I was in a good place. I kept replying back to anybody that trolled me with pictures of the Fans World Series ring I bought last year. Like, it's hard to be depressed when you got, But let's move on to some of the bigger college football games of last week. We had several shake-up type matchups. Several teams that played within the top 10 or played within meaningful football. The new poll's 2 weeks away. We're going to have our first college football playoff poll November 1. I've looked at a lot of projections, just like we all have, but it really doesn't mean anything. But November 1, it will. Let's start in the Big Ten, Jane, with the first kind of a shake-up matchup. Michigan physically dominates Penn State from the. I watched the 30-minute version of it, but it looked like at every turn Michigan just pushed Penn State around.
Hail.
Yeah, they really did. Look, it was a little unexpected from what we've seen out of Penn State. In my eyes, I thought it was going to be a little closer. I knew it'd come down to a little bit of the run game on Michigan's side. I mean,
a little bit.
A little bit. They've got a great offensive line, and like I said, I quoted. I can't remember the stats of Penn State's quarterback. If he throws like under, so many throws a game, they're like 70% win. And when you're falling behind that bad and just getting beat up in the trenches, and that's what Michigan did all day. And couldn't. I wish that both teams could lose. They're two of my least favorites. And I was happy to see Penn State go down like that, but also I hope Michigan comes in inflated to this Buckeye Stadium that I will be at, and it's going to be one of those rush to field moments when that happens. So probably not quite like Tennessee, but of course, anytime you beat Michigan, you rush field. It's just a given.
As long as you're under 25.
Excuse me.
There are rules.
They're not rules with
No.
Because 56 rush the field. All right, moving on. But I did want to go to you next, Raj, and ask you about the double punch of the Michigan backs. Corum and Edwards both go for above 150. That run game, Jim Harbaugh is known when he was in the Pac-12 quarterback guru, but he seems comfortable with handing the ball off 35 or 40 times a game to these two backs right now. Is it a little bit of Harbaugh's learned something, or he's just playing to his strength?
I mean, I think it's refreshing in honor of our friend Tom, who is not here due to his health, and we all wish the best for you, Tom, as a big Michigan guy. It's always refreshing to me, and it seems so rare that an offensive coordinator and a coach realize, hey, this is working. Screw balance, run the damn ball, and keep running the ball. And that's what they did all day. Everything even McCarthy threw was short and underneath. He threw 24 times, 6-yard average. But Edwards went for 173. He ripped off some big ones. Corum for 166. That's 400, and their total was 418 yards and 4 TDs on 55 rushes. That's beautiful. Simultaneously, they destroyed Singleton, the freshman. He's never seen a line like that. A front seven, and mind you, as we all know, Michigan lost 2 dudes on the front line from last year that were both first round picks. One was at least, obviously in Hutchinson, and this was just a Big Ten beatdown. And I was really impressed, and I thought it was refreshing. From what I saw, they just ran the damn ball, and that's all they did. One dude had a 67-yard gain, the other had a 61-yard gain, and they pounded underneath. So kudos to them. It was refreshing. Like I said, too often offense coordinators decide, hey, let's take a shot. Let's get some highlights and some eyeballs. No, they smashed them.
Yeah.
Ohio State is on watch out, dude.
Oh, for sure. But, when you're guessing on quarterbacks on who to start or who to play or what quarterback you have, I mean, that's really all you have to do is run the ball, take it out of their hands, and you can't make mistakes. So,
Randall saw what Derek Gasper said, right?
Yeah. Averaging 80 yards a game, Michigan puts 416 rushing on them. So he said good morning to Papa, or good evening to Papa. Papa wishes a good one. And Elliot Willocks, go Robbie, who won the match. I guess Robbie will get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, to me, I watched this game and I still don't know what to make of either team. Like, I think obviously Michigan's better than Penn State, but I'm trying to wonder about what James Franklin is at Penn State now. Is he like Dan Mullen, like where he found magic at Vanderbilt and then gets to a bigger stage and it doesn't quite work out, or like kind of a Scott Frost, kind of it doesn't seem to be working right now at Penn State for what they expect and what they're paying him for. So that's the takeaway. I mean, good God, this was neither quarterback. No, so out of three quarterbacks, no one threw for over 150 yards. This was just Michigan just said, hey, I'm going to run the ball. You can't stop it. And rinse, repeat. They can't do that against Ohio State. And so it's going to be the showdown at Michigan, Ohio State. What's coming. Penn State doesn't have a chance in hell against Ohio State. Penn State's. I'm not saying they have to rebuild fire coaching, but nothing's right there right now. They're ranked 10th. I will promise you they're the 10th best team in the country. There is no way. There's 10 better teams in the Pac-12 and the SEC. They're better than Penn State.
I'd 100% agree with that.
That leads to that. And
UCLA.
Moving to the ACC. Syracuse in the middle of a run of playing Clemson, Florida State, NC State, Wake Forest. They take their first step into that, beating what I'd seen as a pretty good North Carolina State team. I'll just open the floor to whoever wants to answer this. 6-0 Syracuse. Are they a threat, or are they of a bad conference?
A threat to what?
Yeah.
A threat.
He's just being the host. He's got to ask that question. But
you define a threat. Are they a threat to win?
Are they a threat to the playoff? No. Are they a threat to the Atlantic? The game's at Clemson this weekend, so I say no. They're a good story. Dino Babers done a great job there. Hey, to have them ranked, have them undefeated at this point, tip a cap to them. But are they a threat? No. They just don't have the talent. They don't have the recruiting. Maybe this game's in Syracuse. Maybe you get the dome. You get that odd environment playing. But
maybe you get NC State without their All-American type quarterback.
Yeah, the schedule's worked out in their favor up to now. But this game's at Clemson this weekend. The parade comes to an end, but hey, it's going to be a great season, and they've still got things to achieve, and maybe a New Year's Six bowl.
All right, let's move over to another open-ended. Are they a threat? In TCU, Raj, we'll let you start there, and I'll come to you, Brandon, for both NC State for Syracuse and TCU. TCU handles Oklahoma State, a really great game, overtime game. I think in a lot of ways, a great game got a little overshadowed by Tennessee, Alabama on that Saturday, but it was still, from what I can, back and forth, great game overall, well played. What's the threat level from the Big 12?
And by handles, I know you mean like they beat a team that a lot of people, including me, thought Oklahoma State was going to rise up. I think the overwhelming issue or statement or conclusion that I took from this game is that, and again, I don't play conference favorites. I'm a Pac-12 guy, and we suck, admittedly, but so does the Big 12. I was not impressed with anything here. If I'd pick a team out of there with Quinn Ewers and Bijan Robinson, I'd take Texas, but even they barely beat an Iowa State team. But back to this game, TCU did rack up 500-plus total yards. When you look at the numbers, I only saw half of this game, admittedly. What I saw was boring, and the game was 43-40 in double overtime, if that tells you something. I do not think they are a threat to anything. I don't think they're a threat to they may get a New Year's Six game just by virtue of being the winner of the Big 12. But overall, I'm looking at their schedule now. I mean, there's so many winnable games. They've got Kansas State at home, at West Virginia versus Texas Tech at home. Winnable. At Texas, at Baylor versus Iowa State. I mean, I maybe see 2 losses there, but overall, I see a placeholder.
All right. A good question for you, Shane, leading into that was kind of, I wanted to throw, is Texas the best team in the Big 12?
Well, they certainly can be with Quinn Ewers at the helm. I think this dude, we saw it before he got hurt in the Alabama game. I think if he was on the field, he would have torched Alabama, and that would have been their first loss. But, their defense is sketchy at best, and they give up a lot of points. So, this year's a weird year in football, especially college, because there's no clear, dominant team. Okay, this team, they're not going to lose a game. They're going to the playoffs for certain. Right now, I mean, we're at a coin flip between the top 6, and one of them's lost a game already. And it's any of them are beatable. There's no one out there right now that I would say that is going to dominate the schedule and beat every team in front of them. So I don't know. I don't mean to sidebar and get into all that, but Texas, I think, yes, I think they are. And I think, they've got a little work to do on the defensive side, but offense is definitely there to do so.
All right, Robbie, and we'll come back to you, Raj, to talk about the Pac-12 and the unfortunate matchup that we'll have to discuss.
We have to.
Robbie, maybe the most impressive team in this group of good teams to me is Texas, but I'm not sure Ole Miss isn't right behind them. And I've heard several people on the internet this week say, we keep saying Alabama's going to win the West. Alabama's going to win the West. Right now, Ole Miss, undefeated, running the ball on par with anybody in the nation, not Lane Kiffin's signature card, but has 300-yard rushers. John Dart throws the ball 15 times for Ole Miss. And they beat not a very good Auburn team, but they win and advance a little more.
Yeah, let me just be clear with this and be very concise. Alabama lost by 3 with a missed field goal at the end to win in the most insane environment I've ever been in against a extremely hard team to play against. Do not worry about Alabama.
What about their defense?
Ole Miss is not going to beat them. Alabama's going to be back in Atlanta, and they're going to be on a neutral field, whether it's against Tennessee or Georgia. And Alabama's still in play. They're still a favorite to the playoff. Look, that was a hell of an atmosphere. The best thing I've ever been a part of. and they still only lost by 3 with 17 penalties. Don't concern me with Ole Miss on the road. Just don't. Not to me, anyways. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I totally disagree.
I agree.
I totally disagree because you look. All right, so Alabama. This is the most penalized team under Nick Saban in I don't know how long. They are not disciplined.
Ever.
They cannot get it together. Their defense is really good, but again, penalties come into play. Bryce Young was playing in this game against Tennessee, and he is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, he is phenomenal. If the other kid would have been in there, you guys would have won by 17 points. It was a shootout track meet because Tennessee. Let's be honest, Tennessee's defense is not so great either. They've definitely got their holes and weaknesses.
That's a nice compliment for not so great.
We're supposed to end with this game in our host's defense.
I know. So I'm sorry, but look, Alabama's been on edge. I'll skip the whole Tennessee that I'm going on tangent. Alabama almost lost to Texas, who is, again, a coin flip on the day. Like, who knows what team's going to show up with Texas. Almost lost to Texas A&M. So they've been on edge. There's obviously holes in this system right now, whether it be the players not understanding what Saban's trying to provide or whatever. So I would not just automatically, like most media outlets do, throw Alabama up there as they're going to be fine. It's Alabama. This is the year that it's not Alabama normally. And Ole Miss has a really good shot to beat them. And I'm predicting right now that will be their second loss.
I'm not 100% with Shane, but I do think it's a winnable game for Ole Miss. But that's a debate for another day. I kind of agree with both of you in a strange way. All right, let's move out west real fast, Rod. In a very disappointing game for yourself and for Trojan Nation. But we knew – I don't know what happened to Utah at Florida. I don't know. It's still kind of a mystery to me. But the Utah team that we talked about early in the year showed up and was very physical with the Trojans. And still was a great game, but pulled it out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, again, the transitive property does not exist in college football. Just because one team beat another doesn't mean anything. You can't duplicate environments. If Alabama and Tennessee played tomorrow on a neutral field, I'm not saying Alabama would win, but the result would be different. No doubt about it.
I would say they'd win.
I mean, I just didn't want to upset the majority of our viewing audience, but I agree.
I would disagree. But
the Utah, I don't want to. So SC had a 2-touchdown lead twice in this game, I believe. 7-point leads late. A referee. Let me just say this: I hate the Pac-12 in football. People saw it on
welcome
the
to the Big
stage.
Ten.
Oh, yeah. We can't wait. People saw this on the national stage last year for one of the Big Four, the playoff games. The Pac-12 refs are atrocious. They are the dumbest. Mainly because I think they don't care and because they're part-time, right? They have their own jobs and they show up and they're like, oh, yeah, we know what we're doing. No, we don't. SC had two horrible – I mean, even Brock Heward, who was calling the game, was like lost his mind, roughing the passer calls that were not roughing the passer. One was on an interception on third down that Utah overturned that, ended up scoring a touchdown. The other was on a 3rd and 6. There was another pass interference call. That contributed to my frustration. I believe SC was the better team. I think the polls all showed it. Anybody watch that game. That being said, the refs are never why you lose. Dalton Kincaid was their only tight end left after Queethy left, or Queethy, the former All-American tight end who got injured for Utah. The guy had 243 yards receiving and 16 catches. It's not a mystery who they're going to. They did what they had to do. When you look at the numbers, the only thing that really stands out in terms of the disparities, penalties, 12 for 93 for SC. A lot of that is your own sense of discipline. The thing is, you can clean that up. Up until this point, under Lincoln Riley, having a normal coach, SC's been very well disciplined. Just like Alabama, you can clean that up. It was unfortunate. It was very frustrating. It was a 1-point loss. There's literally 15 what-ifs. Kind of reminds me of the USC-Texas game where that national championship game that I also saw, that was the worst loss I've seen in person, but it feels like 10 things have to go right for one team. I was in that end zone. It was great. 10 things have to go right for one team to win. Only one thing had to go right for the other team to win, and that didn't happen. Right. Being said, it doesn't make an excuse. It doesn't mean anything more than sour grapes. But USC, I picked them to win. They did cover, and they really should have won, but they didn't. And it shows that they're both very good competitive teams, along with Oregon and UCLA. Are they the upper echelon of the country? You know, those SEC teams? I don't think so. Unless, certainly not at an SEC house. But
you need to start saying Big Ten house, Big Ten teams. You're in the Big Ten
like
now.
If they would have played in Knoxville or in Athens or something. No,
I'm kidding. But no,
we all. Rice Eccles was our SEC environment. Utah's and SC really
That's what I'm saying.
That game.
We talked about how hard it is to play in Utah, especially at night. So that, I mean, it's a big deal. That's at least 3 points playing in that environment. So.
And they had their chances for whatever, can't blame it all on the refs. They didn't help.
Sure.
But bro,
what can you do?
And just real quick, this just goes back to more Pac-12 failures of trying to make their teams relevant. If you have USC who's undefeated, you don't let that game be played at night at Utah because you want USC to win and advance because you want them in the playoff discussion. So
the conspiracy theorists were out. It was there like sour grapes. Screw you, USC.
As much as you have to manipulate, this is a money game. You want a team in the playoff. Now I think they sacrifice that because now if Oregon beats you they're
UCLA is a 6-point
this
dog.
weekend.
I hear what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. But
it's just an really angle. We're not saying that's a reason.
I know, but do you want to manipulate an angle that way? Though, don't you want your team to like?
Just reckless speculation.
No,
me.
I'm not saying the team. I'm saying the commissioner. Oh, you better believe.
Oh, and our best player got hurt halfway.
Greg Sankey or Jim Delaney. Now the new guy, his name's flaking me, but yeah, they'd absolutely manipulate that thing to get the teams in the playoff. It's about money.
One last game.
Everything's about money, but
and then we'll move on to baseball playoffs. Kentucky and Mississippi State, both 2-loss teams, but both ranked teams. You thought this would be a high-scoring game, and it really wasn't, with Will Levis versus Will Rogers. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing Will Levis in person. I want to see what all the hype's about. Robbie, coming to Needham in 2 weeks. It's going to be another insane environment for Kentucky to come into.
Yeah, we're doing black and orange checkerboard, and we're breaking out the black jerseys. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see him also. But look, I don't care. Look, we just saw the number 1 pick of the quarterback, Bryce Young. He was fantastic. I can't praise Heupel enough. Man, he can get those receivers open. He can get them open deep, and I just don't know how Kentucky can compete.
Just stop Rodriguez. That's it. I mean, that game was so overrated. Both teams looked like Both quarterbacks are overrated. It was Chris Rodriguez. They're going to feed him just like they did Gibbs, but Tennessee's the much better team.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't know what the spread's going to be. I'd assume it's going to be Tennessee by 15 or 16.
It's not anywhere near that from the line I
Yeah.
saw.
I saw.
It is-
I would think like 9.
The one I saw was Tennessee by about a touchdown.
Oh,
Ugh.
bet
Hammer
your nuts
that.
preview.
Hammer that.
Yeah.
Hammer that.
So
It's a few weeks away, but ugh.
It got to +9 on Alabama. So
Yeah.
all right, guys. Let's move on to the baseball playoffs. Raj, I was waiting on you. Of course, we've talked a little bit about our Braves and Dodgers, both losing in the divisional round in 5 games. For the Braves, was 4 games. But we got a very interesting set of National League Championship Series. You've got now the Padres leading 1-0. The Padres are a loaded superstar team without one very big superstar, Fernando Tatis. But I think a lot of people may have showed San Diego out a little bit. I think they caught a break with the Dodgers and catching the Dodgers after the bye. But now I'm not sure outside of the Yankees if there's any more star power than maybe the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres tied it up tonight, 1-1. The Phillies had another lead early, but you guys saw what the Phillies can do. The playoffs are about starting pitching when you let your starters pitch. And that's a quick note on the Dodgers, who they were their own worst enemy. Just quickly, of 36 innings pitched in 4 9-inning games, the starters pitched 20 innings. No starter pitched more than 5 innings. Dodger philosophy, according to Dave Roberts, was to pull them after 5. And they wanted the bullpen to do the work, matchups and one guy after another. Well, the Dodgers, that was their own undoing, including errors. And to San Diego's credit, they got big hits when they needed to, and the Dodgers didn't. Being said, the Phillies have, I think, you saw what their starters can do.
Their starters outdueled the Braves starters every night.
Yes.
Every night. And it's not what you saw in the regular season. I'm talking about this short series. The Phillies were very effective.
And San Diego was very similar. The Padres have more star power, especially with 2 guys that, if they're so young, if they're not dumbasses, they will be Hall of Famers. But I don't think either team can stack up to what's coming out of the AL. Being said, I wish I had more of an interest. I'm not going to lie. I'm an overgrown child. It still hurts to watch baseball. I will keep tabs on it, but I think this series is a toss-up. I expect Houston to come out of the other one. Right now it's 1-1 in the bottom of the 5th. And unfortunately, I expect Houston to win it all. Unless, like we saw again tonight, I think Philly was up 4-0, and San Diego's, they're eerily similar. We said this at the time to the Braves. Acquiring guys at the deadline, like Drury, who came up huge tonight. Josh Bell, who came up huge tonight. Soto, obviously came up huge. So if there's going to be a storyline, it will be San Diego. Houston is the best overall team. At this point, I just hope it ends quickly so I can move on to the Lakers and another massive disappointment in sports.
Hey, someone wants to watch the Lakers? Holy shit. There's a person in the world that wants to watch the Lakers this season.
If I could change where I was from sometime, I would.
No,
I've never said this in my life, and Brendan, I'm coming straight to you. I am quietly rooting for the Yankees because of my respect for Aaron Judge and what a quality human he is. So I have quietly going to pull for the Yankees all the way. The only game I've watched is on the TV now, and I've got it muted, but I've been watching the Yankees. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was gonna kind of reiterate what Raj says. That was pretty much my notes. Is the Padres are very similar to the Braves in the acquisition after the trade or before the trade deadline, what happened, and they started kind of picking up a little bit of steam, and right now they're hot, and it's playoff baseball. It's not always the best team that wins. It's who's hot right now, who's pitching well, and the bullpens are deep. I love Phillies. Sad for the Braves. They had a better bullpen for sure. Phillies bats got hot, and they were just very. Their pitching was just opportunistic, very opportunistic. Thank you. And it just. I mean, I had already written the Braves in the champion. I thought we were going to see a repeat, Braves Dodgers kind of deal, and just didn't happen. Unfortunately, they both went out, both with, in my opinion, better pitch. Houston's pretty daggum good and deep in the bullpen as well. But man, the Padres are the Braves story. They really are. This is a team I'm actually rooting for, just because of the huge Santos, acquisition and all that chatter in the background. And then they kind of fell off after they acquired him, and then they really started picking up, and now look at them. So, but I know you're rooting for the Yankees, but I think it's going to be Padres Houston in the World Series.
Robbie and I, Robbie Davis, we both lived in the San Diego area. Me for less time than Robbie, but it is a city starved for sports success. Did you lived in San Diego area too, Raj?
Yeah, I did my undergrad at UCSD actually. So
yeah,
by the way, Houston, San Diego is probably one of the Dodger fans' worst nightmares. Houston, San Francisco would be the worst, but you're absolutely right.
It's starved.
So I have some buddies that are still they were the games tonight, and the Padres, I don't necessarily root for them, but I hope they do well, and to see them in this, this area, and I never would have thought, they were horrible. It was they were the number one draft pick every year when I was there. To just have them here now, it's kind of amazing. Do I root for any of these teams? Do I care much about who wins or not? I'd like to see the Padres win, but if they don't, the Braves won last year. I don't want to keep losing my God championships over teams that I'm slight fans over. Atlanta United already won a championship. The Braves won a championship. I'm can I get one of one I actually care about? Can we get one of those? That's all I'm worried about.
I remember going to Jack Murphy Stadium and buying front row third base seats for $5.
Dude, dollar seats in college, beer night. We'd sit behind Tony Gwynn and we'd call him ho-hos, even though he's so disrespectful. We were just morons in college, but it was $1 seats.
Whenever you see games in LA and you think LA is hard to get people to come to a game, San Diego's even worse.
Let's run around.
Especially before Petco was built. Qualcomm was the biggest dump in the world. It was
Jack Murphy
doesn't make them bad fans, by the way, in my opinion. They were good fans. They've just been robbed for a lot of years. The Dodgers throughout every game, the Dodgers were half, if not three-quarters of the stadium all year against San Diego. In the playoffs, the Padres required a billing zip code prior to ordering a ticket. To keep Dodger fans out. Now, that's sad or smart or both. But it's also San Diego, as we three of us know. Chain has been all over tropical places in the world. Everyone should know. Doesn't make them bad sports fans. It means if they're not good, then I've got 18,000 other things to do in 73-degree weather. It's just reality. And I guess good for them. But the zip code thing pissed me off.
And I have my 6 TV screens up there. I don't worry about ticket prices or anything like that.
So he doesn't care about football then. That's for
sure. Some things are better watched at home, boys. That's all I'm going to say.
I used to refer to Tampa as
Oh,
Diego of Florida. Never been good, but now they've become a great sports city. But for a long time, it felt the same way. All right. I think Robbie just went off for a minute to address a need, but let's real quick. Let's pick this. I'm going to give you my picks before we move on to the NFL. I'm rooting for the Yankees and the Padres, but I feel like the World Series is the Phillies and the Astros. So, but I'm rooting for, I guess, the underdog. I'll give you the Phillies Astros in the World Series. How about you, Brendan?
It's Padres, Astros for me. I think Padres, like we just said, it almost seems like one of those destiny type deals, like coming out of the wild card. They beat the Mets, beat the Braves. Now they're just on a heater right now, and that's what it is. And it's not the best team that wins all the time. It's who's hot and what's going on. And they are, like you guys spoke to earlier, they're already in playoff mode on that wild card game. So they're rolling, and they've had to fight for tooth and nail to get to that wild card. So to me, it's Padres and Astros, and I'm going to put some money on the Padres because I think it's this
Do we
year.
like this new wild card format, or yes or no? Like,
I don't, and I think they'll change it back again once they see some of these wild card teams, not even after one game, playing in a series already, are going to start kicking some serious ass. And I think it's a to the detriment of the teams that battled all year and won divisions.
but are they going
that
to give
type of
back
thing.
if they are making more money? Are they going to give back more money?
Well, I don't think we're done.
I don't even know if they are.
Of the
Yeah, I don't know if they are. Either.
Well, it's so hard to base, your entire series and World Series and everything else on consecutive games or 5 games, 7 games, whatever, and then have just a 1-game series kind of wild card thing in there. And I don't know, throws off.
It used to be
scales
2
a little
teams
bit.
made the playoffs back in the day,
Sure.
and then 3 and 1 team. So
my favorite format has been the 4 teams make the playoffs, 3 division winners and a wild card. You immediately go into a 5-game and then to a 7-game. That is
Agreed.
by far the most traditionally baseball.
If and this is a 1-year sample size, but if it's 2 or 3 years goes down the line, and the best teams keep getting upset because of this momentum versus rest, they're going to have to look at this and be like, what's going on?
Well, and here's the
I've
bad
never
thing.
seen anybody go back, though. They always go forward in sports leagues and whatnot. It'd be hard to go back. But, yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
You get one more game in this format. You get 3, 5, 7, 15. Where in the other one, you got 2 7s, 14. So you're really getting one more game, one more revenue game if all the series go max.
Well, if they would play
round
double
of
headers and end the games before football season started, they'd have a lot more.
I thought this should have been a round of 7. Baseball's already a month too long. Like I've said before, or bragged before, I've been to a World Series game in Fenway. We lost, but it was like 9 degrees. Baseball's not meant to be played in 9 degrees. Cut a month off the season. Keep the playoffs. Make them 7-game series, like the NBA.
Double headers all summer long.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just shorten it.
Get it done.
You can do 162 games.
Shorten the games.
Play double headers, and have the playoffs in August.
College football is proving that the traditional leagues, divisions, whatnot, are lame.
For all fans that didn't know, Robbie,
Yeah.
Robbie is our spokesman and should be scheduling for all professional sports leagues and when they play.
I could fit all of them
I agree.
into areas where they don't overlap, and I can make all of them more money because that's where
I
the
know.
TV money is. Like you're telling the NBA and the NHL, they're playing right now. They played on Monday night? Are you kidding me? Like, just get out.
It's also, I get what you're saying, but it's also they have such a long season they have to start so early. But it's kind of cool as a fan to be like, okay, it's a Tuesday. What am I going so I got NHL on, I got MLB on, I got
But TV
NBA.
pays their players. They pay the whole thing.
I'm just saying.
I
hate that more than anything in sports.
I get it, but I'd rather watch that than I'm not going to say on TV.
I loved Atlanta Braves and cared less that they were eliminated on Saturday night.
Yeah,
Cared less.
What's important? You couldn't get them on TV in a
once
bar
NFL
in Knoxville,
starts,
Tennessee.
Well, let's be honest. NFL's king. Once NFL starts,
Well,
everything else is fighting for second.
Let's move on to the NFL. And I have a very, very strong suspicion. And I will say it. Well, my fantasy sucks, but I know a lot about football besides fantasy football. But if I'm watching two teams head to head, the best two teams I've seen in the NFL this year, and for probably the last 2 years, are the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though the Rams won the Super Bowl, I really think the Bills and the Chiefs are built different than everybody else. Head-to-head matchup this week, the Bills win, but I think you can play that game 100 times and 50 Chiefs win 50 times, the Bills win. It is unbelievable how evenly matched these two teams are. Rod, we'll start with you. How even are these two teams? I was trying to get that out before I burped.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're evenly matched, and that's also by design. Buffalo saw what was going on in Kansas City and constructed their roster very similarly, perhaps not at the tight end, but they're very similar in terms of roster scheme, everything. I think Shane and I both picked Buffalo. I just thought, especially after watching Kansas City barely beat the crappy-ass Raiders, that Buffalo would come out on top. And for me, it was obviously with Josh Allen, who just is the best player in the NFL, flat out. I don't think it's debatable. Also, offensive line, a lot of that has to do with Josh Allen. But, I saw the Raiders' defensive front seven do their thing with Kansas City, whereas in this game, Allen was sacked once. Buffalo ran the ball effectively. Conversely, Kansas City could not run on that Buffalo team. And even though Juju and Kelsey got their own, I felt like it was a game that Buffalo had the entire game, even when it was tied 10-10 and 17-17. I just thought the better team won. And Shane, I don't know if you had your headphones in, but I was just saying how, Kansas City couldn't run and they didn't run. Conversely, right. Congruently rather. And I think Buffalo, even though it was close, I don't want to say the torch has been passed, but again, this is a team that's very well constructed and very intelligent. They saw what was going on and they did the same, and they got an equally great quarterback and a better defense.
No, I totally agree. So here's the difference is definitely defense. And like we talked about, and I said last week, is the difference between the Raiders and the Bills on defense. When they would blitz, they would cover one man or just straight up man. Buffalo played cover two zone most of the time when they blitzed. And they don't have the athletes aside from Travis Kelce to get there. And their front four, is going to get to Mahomes. He was sacked 3 times in this matchup. Josh Allen only sacked once. That was the biggest difference, in my opinion. And also, it created opportunities for secondary in that zone. 2 interceptions I believe, by Mahomes
Yep.
because of that rush and that zone defense and that cover two. And I told you that was going to be the determining factor, and it's exactly what it was, because it's a shootout between these guys. We've seen it time and time again, all the way down to the AFC playoffs, where it was coin flip whoever had the ball last. They learned from that. And they studied this Raiders film. I promise that is the determining factor, was that defense in that cover two zone, trusting the front four, put pressure, get a sack, or create a turnover. And that was the game. I mean, really, that was the difference, because Mahomes is a better quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, he's a magician back there. And if he had the weapons that Gabe Davis, Travis not Travis, but Dawson Knox and Stephon Diggs. I mean, he's got three dudes that can catch balls. Mahomes got Travis Kelce. He's got a washed up Juju Smith-Schuster who actually scored. He did well, but that was the difference. He had to look for all these other guys. Kelce, he got his yards and all that, whatever. But he wasn't going to have that, 200-yard game or, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns or whatever. They're too smart for that. So,
Brandon,
those linebackers.
Before we go to Rob, y'all have hinted all around it. My impression of watching this game was the one undeniable fact: the Bills may be the best tackling team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's simple. Wrap up. Don't go for the big hit. Wrap up. And so many NFL players, especially young kids, superstars, whatever, come out and they're trying to throw a shoulder and knock somebody off their block. And look, you're going against another dude that is just as big and as fast and as strong as you. And if you don't wrap up, bro, come on, you can't just knock people off the block like that. So
yeah.
To Randall's point, look at all the solo tackles by Buffalo. A young kid like DeMar Hamlin, the safety for Buffalo, he had 7 tackles, all solo. There was 30 Tremaine Edmonds. Von Miller did Von Miller things with 2 sacks, all solo tackles. They didn't need help, and they trusted that, and that was amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
the front
Randall,
four.
that's a great point.
Yeah,
they tackled so well. They didn't need help.
Well, that's
that was the biggest difference.
You have Mahomes, you have Allen going back and forth. Look, they're both great. These offenses are great. These coaches are great. They're so evenly matched. The it factor right now, Von Miller. He is the guy. He is the guy that's the game changer that makes Mahomes uncomfortable, and that's going to throw things off the line. Even if he had 2 tackles, 2 sacks, maybe whatever it was, but the way he affects the game, that's
for sure.
That's what changes everything. Changes the reads on the line. You have to clip him. He was with the Rams last year, now with the Bills. Look, that's the changing of the guard. He is maybe the Deion Sanders or Charles Haley, that he changes teams, and that shifts the balance of who's the best team in the league. This is the most impressive win I've seen in a long time. The Bills going into Arrowhead and beating Kansas City like that. But they're evenly matched. We're going to see this again, and I'm all for it.
No, I totally agree with you, Robbie. Von Miller is a key factor here. That's why they can trust their front four to rush and play that cover 2 zone. And
that's how you beat teams.
That's how you beat teams. And that's what caused the 3 turnovers, or the 2 turnovers, and the 3 sacks is because of that. And they trusted that. That was, that was the difference between Raiders versus Bills defense. And Raiders had a very good game plan against them as well. So, again, I preached it all week last week, and that, it came to fruition. So that is exactly what I've seen.
It goes back to the Giants beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl, the Seahawks beating the Broncos, or the Panthers, whoever beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and then the Chiefs getting beat last year, then Bucks beat. if you can rush 4, that's the
Yeah.
kryptonite in the NFL. If you can
Yeah.
do that, because those guys can cover one-on-one.
Yep.
Who's the better team?
Alabama football, baby.
Who's the better team? Everybody give me one answer.
Buffalo.
All right. I got one word to say about Von Miller, and I think it gets lost. That I think he is Bruce Smith or LT. I just think he's moved around where LT played his whole career in the Giants, and Bruce Smith played his whole career in Buffalo, and even Reggie, kind of moved around towards the end of his career. But really, it's the Eagles and the Packers, and that horrible stop. The Astros just hit a home
Von
run.
Miller's Deion Sanders. I'll go where I can get paid and win.
He's also a massive leader, man. He knows what
Yeah.
buttons to push and what not to. If anyone saw the Rams, sorry to Randall interrupt last year, he told Aaron Donald, like, they need to hear from you now. Right now, Aaron Donald is a soft-spoken guy, big stick, whatever. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. When Aaron Donald spoke up is when they came alive in the playoffs.
Swing a big
And
stick
Von
and
Miller-
speak softly.
That, too. I feel like that's kind of reversed, but whatever. He
Speak softly.
he knows what he's just a highly intelligent guy, and it's not just the glasses, and he's just such a leader, and he looks like he's hit the fountain of youth. Randall, so sorry, all we do is interrupt you, but you have 3 children, 4 including your beautiful daughter. Please continue.
I jumped over and watched a little of the Astros. I want to move on though. Back to college football. I think we covered that. I agree with you. I think the Bills are the better team. I think
Only because of their defense.
yes, and I think before the season, we're going to see the Bucks establish themselves as maybe the best team in the NFC. I think they've been injured. Things are not together for the Bucks. I'm not sure there's a dominant team in the NFC this year.
I love Philadelphia. They look awesome to me.
Philly may be the one. I question Philly. I don't question the receivers as much now that AJ's there, but I do question the depth of their skill people. It's AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and some dudes, and then it's Miles Sanders and some dudes. They're really.
I'm still like, jury's out on Philly for me right now. I don't know. NFL's sneaky, and a team looks good, but then they can go lose to the Jets or the Commanders or whoever. So I don't know.
In 3 and just beat the 49ers. I mean, that's how the NFL.
Hey, Marcus Mariota was a hot waiver wire pickup for most fantasy people. So it's I'm not sold on Philly. I still really think the Bucks are for sure in play, and I like San Francisco, man. I really do. Under Garoppolo.
And the Falcons played perfect. I mean, and if you play perfect, you can win. All right, we're in. I want to take the backside of this 15, 20 minutes here, and I want each one of us to go through. And first of all, I got a couple of statements to make. I tried to go and find. There's so many college basketball sites that are March Madness related where you can get where the palm rate is and stuff. So I went through a lot of the college football sites this day. I mean, every one of the reputable sites, even Palm, and tried to figure out where the playoffs hole would be if it was released today.
Don't tease me with college basketball, and then we're going to talk about football.
The basketball was not on your agenda, so you're going to have to wait a little while. So I was trying to do a similar thing. And me being a Tennessee fan, that was the first one I looked at. So of the 5 websites that I went to that says we're the most accurate playoff predictor, Tennessee was between 1 and 5 in these 5 sites. At most, they were 3, but one of them had them at 5, one of them had it 1. I think one of them had them at 4, and 2 of them had them at 3. So I don't think nobody really has a grip on where that poll will come out because it's so dependent on strength of schedule and who beat who and what happened and people 2 and 3 down the line. If you were on the playoff committee, I'll give you my 4 and then we'll go around. My 4 today would be Ohio State, in this order too: Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan. Now, Clemson would be 5.
Is that based on the presumption that Georgia beats Tennessee in that game? And if
No,
so,
that's
No,
right.
he
That's
said
right
2
now.
day. 2 day.
The poll.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, my bad.
So that's my 5. That order: Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan, Clemson.
So
I'm with you.
Robbie.
yeah, so this year kind of reminds me of, you remember that first year? I think it was the first year where the playoff rankings came out and Mississippi State was number 1, like Ole Miss was number 2, and then there
That
was
was 2014. We actually won that year. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of what reminds me, like, so look, like right now, the best resume is Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it just is. And then I think you go Georgia, because they beat Oregon so badly, would be the second best team. And this is resume wise. I don't think this is who's better. I wrote down Ohio State 3rd and Michigan 4th, but because Michigan beat Penn State, Ohio State, I'm not sure they beat anybody yet. So I'm going to flip them and do Michigan 3rd, Ohio State 4th, knowing this is all going to flip, and it's just a fluid situation, but it's just who have you played thus far. But so I've got UT, UGA, Michigan, Ohio State, and then Clemson 5. And you know what? I know it's crazy, but an undefeated Clemson, they're just not going to beat anybody worth of a crap. I mean, they're going to get in, but I'm not sure they can. They should get in based on their schedule. I'm
not sure they do get in, and we'll talk about who's in and who's out here in a minute. But I think you're valid for thinking the same way. All right. By the way, I did pull the strength of schedule right now because there's so many big games to play, and Tennessee has played a couple of big games or a couple of low side top 25 plus Alabama. They had the highest strength of schedule, and Michigan was next of the 4 teams I talked about.
Yeah.
Shane, go ahead.
All right, so hold on. Sorry, my phone's going crazy here.
Randall, you don't need me. I agree entirely with you.
Okay. All right.
So this is a flawed system. Obviously, we've known that from all the way back to the BCS days. So once you are automatically ranked in a certain position, unless you lose a game or whatever, it's hard to fall. So if you're going strictly resume, obviously UT has the best resume out of the top 4. But was Alabama put there because of
That's fair.
the preseason rankings? Like, are they really that good? Like, they had some close games to some bad teams. So, there is a
name.
Well, I mean, you can.
If they aren't Alabama, they're not there.
Well, you can battle all day on either case, and they both have valid cases on either side. So, my top 4, I would say.
Some feedback there.
It's really tough because, look, like I said earlier, there is no team in college football right now that I feel is completely dominant. I think every team in college football can get beat right now. What is that going on?
I have no idea. A lot of background. Me?
Yeah, I was trying to clean the background. Somebody's picking up really bad, but I can't figure out who it is. Go ahead, Jane.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, there's no clear dominant team right now in the top four, and you can coin flip this, in my opinion, between obviously Georgia's number one right now. Should they be? Probably not, but they were ranked higher, so consensus says, yeah, they are. What is that noise?
It's me. I can't hear it. Maybe it's me. Hold on.
Yep, there it was. Okay, so yeah, it was you, Rob. Sorry, buddy. So yeah, consensus is, since Georgia was already pre-ranked in the top, they had a close game with Missouri or whatever. They haven't lost. They haven't been great. They're definitely beatable. It's a coin flip. Tennessee is a really good offensive team. Their weakness is definitely in their defense. And, if it comes down to a track meet between Georgia, can they win? Absolutely. I think they can. If it comes down to a defensive game where you run the ball against Michigan, I don't know. Ohio State, who knows? This Notre Dame win, that's our only signature win we have so far. It's getting less and less impressive. And
It's not at
I
all.
lost to Stanford was. I looked at. I was like, holy crap! They lost to Stanford.
Yeah. So it gets less and less impressive. But as we all know, these are kids in college, and they're all new because most of the top programs have NFL players that continually reproduce and go to the NFL. So they have to gel. It takes time. It takes offensive, defensive schemes, and getting these kids involved and to buy into the system.
But where would you rank them right now?
I'm getting to that. It's a very long-winded statement, so just bear with me. I would say Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, Michigan.
I think any of it's a valid R. Now,
I mean, it's a coin flip to me right now.
So, Rod, since we agree on the top five, who among the next five, which still includes SC, Texas with even 2 losses, I think, Oregon.
No, wait, what? No, Texas, no.
I do have to say one thing.
I think
I disagree with
Well,
Clemson.
no, Texas
even
can't get over
close.
Alabama with 2 losses.
I didn't say that. I said the next 5.
I disagree with Clemson in the top 7 right now, personally. But
I'm just looking for who's the best team right now that's down out of the top 5 that could make a run and go undefeated from this point. And even Oregon got blew out. You're muted, Raj. All right. Who? You understand what I'm asking? I'm just making sure. Okay.
Yes, I for one understand your question. So of those teams after that 5, Clemson being the 5th, I think Alabama's there by namesake. If they win out, then obviously they're there. After that, I don't see Ole Miss. There's a lot of crazy lines this weekend, one of which is number 7 Ole Miss as a 2-point underdog at LSU. I'm not saying that's indicative of anything. It does kind of confirm what I think of Ole Miss, which is not much. I don't think much of the Big 12. However, if either of those teams run the table, yeah, they're going to be right there. Of the Pac-12, if any of those 3 teams, I don't see a 2-loss Utah getting in because of that, by virtue of that Florida game, which is sad, but eventually it comes down to paper.
And to Robbie's point, I don't think a 2-loss Texas can, but they can They can get to the top 5.
Hey,
and
Raj,
they could have if Alabama won, because a close loss to Alabama is a win in the pollsters' eyes.
Raj, let me ask you this. what's a better chance for the Pac-12? Oregon winning out or UCLA going undefeated?
I think it's one of the LA schools by virtue of the fact that Oregon, in my opinion, it's just one game, but they're done. I don't think you can have a team probably as the 4 seed, and if Georgia wins out is the 1 seed, and you lost to them 49-3 in a neutral site, I think that's you're donezo. I'm not a big scoreboard guy, but the Pac-12 is the exception. Utah's got 2 losses, including a loss at Florida. So it's USC. If they could win out, they could sneak in by star power and the fact they lost by 1 point at Utah. And a lot of people who saw that game could understand why they lost. Or UCLA, who absolutely has to go undefeated. They put points on the board. It's Chip Kelly. But really, it's a lot of gimmicks in the Pac-12 at that point. But Oregon, Utah, in my opinion, I couldn't see putting them in by virtue of major losses to the SEC.
Pac-12 guy, Oregon sitting there at as the leader in the clubhouse would worry me because they got killed by Georgia. I'd want UCLA to be ahead of them.
So UCLA is ahead in the polls, but by 1. Actually, in the real poll in the AP, the coaches, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
They play each other this weekend in Eugene, and undefeated UCLA is a 6-point underdog. So whatever team comes out of this will be the front runner, obviously. Neither will likely belong. It must be said that Oregon does not play USC. UCLA and USC do play last game of the year at UCLA. Whether that matters when it comes to the playoff, I doubt it, but we'll see.
It doesn't matter.
Let me throw a little stat.
Hopefully it's below 60 there that day.
Let me throw some stats at you boys real quick. So in the last, I think, 8 to 10 years, the national championship team has been ranked in the top 25 in defense. Aside from 2 years, which was Auburn, Cam Newton, and LSU, Joe Burrow. Those are the only 2 teams. Aside from that, defense has got to be pretty stout within the playoffs. So take a look at that when factoring in your champion.
So no Tennessee, no USC,
So
Hendon Hooker is pulling a Joe Burrow.
Oh, actually, Tennessee defense.
Exactly, unless you have a special talent.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Trophy winner.
Now, I'll throw some other stats out here that's, just kind of biased. But Tennessee is overall defense ranked 104th. Ohio State, I believe, is who we've played nobody yet. We're in the top 25. But, again, we've really not played
When
anybody.
did Ohio State play Purdue? That's what we want to know.
Yeah. Hope it's not a night game with the kids in the hospital over there.
That's all we want to know is when does Ohio
Iowa.
State play Purdue?
That's Iowa.
Yeah, that's Iowa.
Barren Midwest.
We play Iowa this week, actually.
You're 30-point.
I'm about to look it up.
Sad for Iowa.
So,
you know what? Probably they don't even play Purdue this year.
So, Robbie, going back to Texas, I just ran a scenario through the predictor that I found that Georgia wins out, wins the SEC undefeated. Ohio State wins out undefeated all the way through. Clemson wins out undefeated all the way through. Texas finishes the rest of the season undefeated. It gives me and understand this is a logarithm that some guys wrote. It gives me a top 5 or top 4 of Georgia, Ohio State, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that is a scenario.
I've got another scenario.
I think Texas could get there.
I've got
They
another
get benefits
scenario.
for losing without their quarterback, though.
What
I
if?
disagree with.
Okay, so what if UT?
Sucks, but
What if UT loses to Georgia and that's their only loss? All right, Georgia goes in.
Don't steal my next question. Don't steal
Alabama
I
loses.
You got all.
I didn't know you had that question. Yep. My bad. I'll stop.
Wait,
right there.
Run that scenario by me again, Randall.
Hold
Wait,
on.
what?
I'll run it in just a second. I got one question for Raj, then we'll move on to the SEC. The same playoff predictor.
Texas has lost 2 games.
Yeah, hold on, but Alabama would have 2 losses under that scenario. The same playoff predictor, if you go USC goes undefeated, UCLA goes undefeated, or Oregon goes undefeated, it gives, of those 3 from here on out, which means UCLA would be undefeated 12-0. Oregon
They'd have to beat USC though. USC
Yeah.
and UCLA play each other.
what I'm saying, or USC finishes 11.
I gotcha.
It gives the better odds to Oregon at 11-1 than it does UCLA at 12-0. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not, in the sense that, well, again, Oregon plays UCLA this weekend. That would necessitate Oregon having 2 losses, including 1 to UCLA at home.
But
I get your point, though.
Yeah.
I get your point. No, I mean, I think they're just getting the benefit of losing to a great team, first game of the year, and turning it around. Lately, Bo Nix does not look like Bo Nix. It kind of just proves our overarching point about college football, which is it's all just basically a coin toss, and it's extremely ambiguous, and naturally so. When you have 12 games and teams don't play each other head to head, and you're wondering who beat who and when, we've already established the fact that these are 18-year-old kids, and playing a Saturday in Columbus in the first game of the year for Notre Dame against playing against Stanford at home, they're entirely different teams you're going to get in the field. So,
But
unfortunately,
Randall, there's no circumstances Texas getting the playoffs. 0.
again, they get injury benefit by losing a good quarterback.
They've lost 2
They
games.
lost to Alabama,
already.
and then they lost
2
half the
games.
stands to
They've
Texas
lost 2
Tech.
games.
Yeah,
They're not getting in.
So
you never know.
I
is the
agree.
point.
No, I assure you, I know they're not getting
Until-
in losses.
how many
Not in a
losses-
4-team, in a 12-team.
losses with Alabama?
They're
have?
also still Texas.
How many losses with
I
Alabama?
don't give a crap who they are. I guarantee you,
a lot of people
2
do.
losses they're not getting in.
How many
And if
losses?
they have to get in, they have to beat 4 ranked teams.
Tell that to 2-loss Nick Saban.
How many-
Yeah.
that's fine.
Again, Nick Saban will get in before 2-loss Texas. Yes, they're like they're not
But
getting
if we
in.
give them the injury buffer, then
God,
Urs
I'll give you
got hurt that
100 to 1
game.
odds. You put $100 on, I'll pay you
Look,
1,000.
we're not
Texas will
saying
not
they're
make
going to
the
get in.
playoff.
We're
Yeah,
just saying
but
it is a consideration.
Yeah,
All right. Before
you're
this break,
down, I'm down.
Robbie's brilliance is just hung up on this conversation we were having 4 points ago. But now let's go to the next one.
Never let a point die if you're right.
I think there is a scenario where Texas gets in because we're not thinking about the concept of Alabama has 2 losses, plus they've lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game. They have 3 losses because the first point was Georgia goes undefeated from here. All right. So here we go. Let's play this scenario out. Georgia or Tennessee wins, whoever you want. Georgia wins. Georgia goes to the SEC championship. Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama all finish the season. Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game. Alabama is then 12-1. Georgia is 12-1. Tennessee is 11-1. Who makes the playoffs?
Not Tennessee. Based on name, it's unfortunate. And people will write excuses like we all alluded towards with that one game against Alabama, even though Tennessee deserved to win. Name and reputation, I don't know how you could put Tennessee in unless – it's such a shame that we have to go to reputation. And although Tennessee's got a Heisman Trophy winner right now in their back pocket, but I don't think anyone would be shocked if Tennessee was the team left on the outside looking in.
Wait, so you said Alabama wins the SEC, wins the conference,
12-1, 12-1, 11-1. Like,
but they beat Georgia.
all 3 of those teams end up with 1 loss.
and
So
Georgia
Tennessee's
beats
11-1?
Tennessee. Yes,
It's Alabama,
all teams have one.
Tennessee.
Reverse it. Tennessee beats Georgia, and Tennessee goes to the SEC championship game, loses the rematch to Alabama. Then
It's-
Alabama 12-1.
Well, that's exactly what happened last year. They both got in.
Yeah, they should
Yeah,
get in though.
it's
Tennessee
Tennessee,
they won,
easy.
and they
If
couldn't
Tennessee
fall
goes
past 4.
undefeated, they lose Alabama rematch. They both get in. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about the first scenario we said?
But no, first scenario
The first
should
scenario,
be
no,
should
if-
be
if
Georgia
Alabama.
beats Tennessee, Alabama
No.
beats Georgia in the SEC championship game.
It should be
All
Alabama,
one-loss
Tennessee.
teams.
Alabama, Tennessee.
Who gets in?
No.
Alabama, Tennessee.
No. If Alabama and Georgia play the championship and
Poor
Georgia beats
Randall.
Tennessee, then no, Tennessee's the odd man out.
Okay, agreed.
So what happens if Georgia beats Tennessee, then beats Alabama in the SEC championship? Does Tennessee and Georgia both go to the playoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario? Here's a scenario that I think is the death doom to the playoff. If Clemson loses, Tennessee is 11-1. Georgia is 12-0. Ohio State is 12-0, and Michigan is 11-1. Is there a scenario you get 2 Big Ten and 2 SEC teams into the playoffs?
Clemson's not Big Ten, but
Clemson loses. So
okay.
Clemson has lost
It's not.
win the ACC.
If Ohio State and Michigan's close, then yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Why not?
Robbie?
It's a 2 power conferences. I mean, why would you not want to see that?
Since they've already agreed to expand it to 12, all this controversy is now like, oh, well, yeah, it's bad now, but it's sorting itself out.
We'll fix it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to shield a lot of controversy now. So it's really the 4 best teams. If it is Michigan, Ohio State, and 2 SEC teams, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and like they'll play it out. And you know what? It'll get monster ratings, probably the biggest ratings it's ever had, and then they're cashing their checks, and then they're going to move on. And like that's the thing, people have such short memories. Like
Obviously,
honestly, ACC, Clemson, like yeah, they've been a pseudo powerhouse, but if they lose, yeah, you're out, man. Like, sorry.
What about the best teams? Should ratings and money matter? Of course, we all know that that's all that matters to the powers that be. But I think that's the question. Like,
That's
who
It is the
really
question.
belongs?
That's why you're going to 12, because yeah, you have these top rated teams that are pre-ranked that can't hardly fall, even if they lose a game. I mean, they're still in the top 6. We've just seen that.
Yeah, you're getting the 12, you're getting the monotony out of this thing.
Exactly. And
Go ahead, Brent. All right, let me wrap this up before we go to bet your nuts. Raj, don't stray off.
No, I'm right here.
All right. The rest of the season is played out the way you think it's going to play out. Give me 1 through 4 your playoff teams. Who would like to go first? I'll go first. Go ahead, Robbie. Go ahead.
I think it's going to be Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, and Tennessee.
say it. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. And I think that's what it's going to be.
All right. In that order. Georgia.
No. I think it'll be no, not in order, but yeah. Georgia, Ohio State, 1, 2, Clemson 3, Tennessee 4.
So Georgia, Tennessee in a rematch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So does that mean Georgia and Tennessee, Georgia would win, and then Alabama would face Georgia in the SEC championship game?
And Georgia
would win?
beats them. Yeah.
I think that's entirely possible, if not likely.
Mine's going to play out a little different, but go ahead. Who wants to do the next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm going to go Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson. Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson. I think we're going to see a Buckeye, Vols, playoff here,
So
which
so
is
you
going to.
think? Wait, just Brandon, just a question. So you think Tennessee losing to Georgia would still be ranked ahead of Clemson, undefeated?
Yeah.
Yes.
Clemson's
I
garbage.
agree with that.
To
I
be
mean,
honest, like I wouldn't even put Clemson in there. It's just
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. I would not
I'm
either.
doing this as how the committee's going to think, and that's why I'm trying to guess that way. If it was up to me, it would be, in no order: Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama for sure. I mean, they're the top 4 teams in the country by far. Clemson they have a good defense, but they're average at best.
I agree.
Year,
I think the top 4 teams would roll Clemson. There wouldn't be.
For sure. It's not going to be it. I just think, and I'm hoping for this Tennessee Ohio State matchup because we're all going to that game, right?
Oh yeah, in LA, hell yeah.
It is going to be. Yeah.
It actually would be Atlanta.
I'm already looking at hotel rooms.
No, there's Atlanta. The championship's in LA.
I know.
I know.
I'm looking at not the championship, but the playoff. So if we're 1-3, we're going to play each other in the semifinal, and that's probably we're going to be in the Sugar Bowl.
Each other 2 and 3, then 1 and.
Oh, so yeah, Randall, to answer your question, I think it's going to come down to Clemson being undefeated versus the only other thing that, and this is under the presumption that. And I think this is entirely likely, if not will happen, that Tennessee only loses to Georgia, if that, and Georgia beats Alabama because if Alabama beats Georgia, then we're all screwed. It's all like, especially the rest of us.
Alabama's not a good team this year.
We don't know that.
Bryce Young's.
They have tons of NFL talent across the board. But what I'm saying is most likely the only teams possible to unend, if you will, Clemson would be, in my opinion, a name team like, I hate to say this, USC. Do they belong? No, not at this point. But that would mean they win out. They would beat Oregon in the championship game. They'd beat undefeated UCLA in the Pac-12. And a one-loss USC team could give Clemson undefeated in a much worse ACC, which I don't think anybody could dispute that. A run for that 4th seed. But
hey,
as of right now, that would mean that the top 3 would be Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee. And I think USC could sneak in, or an undefeated UCLA could sneak in. I don't see Oregon getting in points-wise.
I would love to see that from the Pac-12.
I'm praying that Clemson gets beat because
I am too.
I would like to see, and
they could lose at Notre Dame, man. I hate to say that, but Notre Dame shows up when they play big boys, and that's a big boy game.
So it does suck when Notre Dame's in the playoff or a shitty Michigan team is in just for being in, because it's essentially a bye week for that one. Or when Washington was in, like
stupid.
Yeah, stupid. I know they want to be inclusive, but come on, they're not that good, and
it's such a flawed system. It starts off.
We all know that. We all watch these games. We all know that, and they're not up to this level. And then it's like, well, yeah, go ahead, blow out, and then get on to the next game.
I mean, if you could just have 10 or 12 intelligent people to actually just watch games and rank people based on eye test on what they see, things would be completely.
I think it was
exactly right.
I can't remember the exact year. I want to say, based on memory, it was Clemson played Notre Dame, and Alabama played Oklahoma, and Alabama had to prepare for Oklahoma and all this spread offense. And Dabo was like, "Yeah, we prepared that whole month for Alabama. Then we just one weekend we prepared for Notre Dame, and then it's like, yeah, we got them. We're good. That's not a problem. And so that just shouldn't be that way."
I just want Clemson out of the picture. I think
I do too. Clemson's so overrated.
I think we can beat Alabama, which we just did. I think we beat Clemson head-to-head. I think we're on par with Michigan. I still believe Georgia and Ohio State are better than everybody else. That's my personal opinion. But I still think Georgia and Ohio State are my 1 and 2.
Well, there's a huge difference between having teams in Neyland Stadium with 105,000 people and that atmosphere. We still only won by 3. And so you take a neutral field
and 28 penalties, which is
and he almost got the field goal blocked. Too.
Yeah, so we're not near as good.
Does it matter?
You take Ohio State, like we're not that good. Like we're good. We're explosive, but
you're good.
That was a once in a lifetime kind of thing, and we barely won by 3.
You're good because you got the boy Hendon
Hooker.
A guy doesn't make mistakes. When you got a dude like that can just open up the
ball
game
wherever you want it, and receivers.
What was Justin
you guys
Fuente doing in Clem?
Pretty
or
sick.
Integrity? He let him go.
I think someday we'll understand that the reason you judge Tennessee's defense by its run stop ability, because we put so much pressure on your offense. We're always going to be in the
4 TD drives in the first half, all of them about 2 minutes. What the hell do you expect when it comes down to third down efficiency, fourth down efficiency? They're like top 25 in the country.
Yeah, I would like to see.
I don't like to defend Tennessee. They can kick rocks.
Hey,
I'm surrounded by myopic people that I'm happy for.
I was preaching.
That's a good team, dude.
It is a good team. I was preaching balance, before this game, what I've seen out of Tennessee, even in the high-paced offense, they were somewhat balanced on the run versus pass. This game
ran the ball better than I thought against Alabama.
This game was a little unbalanced, though. I mean, they threw the ball a lot more, and
if you can't stop it,
really picked up the chunk plays. No, I mean they did great. Look, dude. I mean, they're a contender. Like I said, I don't see any team right now that's unbeatable, and the top 4 can point to that.
I believe that Clemson's the one that doesn't belong, and until I see
for
Clemson
sure.
and DJ play better,
They probably have the easiest road, though. Ironically enough,
for sure.
And this is what I don't want.
And they started so high, and that's what pisses me off. They started high without any
preseason polls.
This is what I do not want, and it has become this. Tennessee's path to the playoff is easier losing to Georgia in Athens.
Yes,
100% correct.
100%
correct.
That was my. I was going to bring that up.
If they go to the championship game and they get smoked, they'll drop out.
If they are a 1-loss 11-1 team,
100% right. That's a great.
And Alabama beats Georgia, it's 100% guaranteed they're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and it's hard to beat a team twice. Let's say they face Alabama and Alabama wins by 30. I told you so. If they beat Georgia at Georgia, they could fall out, dude.
That was the scenario I was going to bring up earlier for Randall.
They really could. It's a great point. A lot of it's name recognition.
I don't think losing a game should make it easier, because I think losing that last Saturday to Alabama badly in an SEC championship game actually hurts them more.
It shouldn't, but I mean, do politicians do what they
hold on.
So Rob, what we're saying is Tennessee beats Georgia by 1 point, and Georgia loses half their dudes, whatever it is. Then Tennessee plays Alabama in the SEC championship game, and Alabama just folds them. And then everybody says, oh, yeah, Tennessee, that's what we thought. They go from 1 to 5, and somebody else sneaks in.
No, didn't we just see this last year with Georgia and Alabama?
Yeah, but Tennessee is not Georgia and Alabama by name.
No. If Tennessee beats Georgia, they're in the playoff.
Are we sure about that? That's the point. If they lose to Georgia, they could be better odds to be in the playoff.
No. If Tennessee beats Georgia and they win out to the SEC championship,
they get smoked by Alabama in the
No, they're in the playoff because they've already beat Alabama, so their only loss is the team that beat them.
These are morons.
No. There's absolutely no way. There's no way if Tennessee wins out and their only loss to the team that they've already beat, they're not in the playoff.
But those people go back and talk about those penalties and in Knoxville and all that stuff, and they say it was a fluke.
There's no way.
Randall's right, dude.
I think if her name is Georgia, we're there. I think if her name's Alabama, we're there. But I don't think we're not.
I agree.
Are you crazy?
If Alabama beats them 57-10, for whatever reason, Hooker gets hurt. Then what?
Like maybe if you
They're not in, dude.
No.
They are not.
If UCLA's undefeated, maybe, but they're not going to be. If they're your only loss, it's the team that just beat you in the championship.
And Michigan, Ohio State are overtime game, and Clemson's undefeated.
Nope.
They're not in, dude.
Here's the thing. What Robbie's trying to
in.
say. If they're
I
going to
get
take
what
two
he's saying, but I get what Randall's saying more.
If they're going to take two SEC teams and Tennessee beats Georgia and then loses to Alabama, those two teams are in. It's Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
If they're taking two SEC
because Tennessee just beat Georgia. Like
if they're only taking one SEC team.
Listen to me. What the point is, the path is easier to lose to Georgia.
Yes.
No.
Georgia beat
then
Alabama.
You don't have to play in the SEC championship.
The actual path to get to the playoffs is easier without playing in the SEC championship game.
Okay, so what if Alabama beats Georgia?
That's a neutral site game versus.
No, wait.
There's two SEC teams.
Listen to what you're saying. You're saying it's easier to lose to Georgia than to beat Georgia to make the playoff.
This is all based
under the presumption that there's no more risk.
Teams
you don't have to play in the championship game.
It is an easier path to the playoffs when you don't have to play in that championship game. Same thing applied to Alabama a few years ago. They did not play in the championship game,
and they stuck in and they won the championship.
Hold on. Let's walk through this.
Randall and I are on the same page.
Tennessee beats Georgia,
scary for him.
And then they play Alabama in the championship game. That's a revenge game. Alabama beats them. That's 1-for-1.
So they played an extra game. They wouldn't have to under my scenario.
No, hold on.
Exactly.
Back up. If Georgia wins, Georgia beats Tennessee, and then Georgia loses to Alabama.
What I played out. I played Georgia beats Alabama.
Okay, but I played okay, you're playing your scenario out. Play every scenario out.
I do. The easiest path to the playoffs is winning out, and the second easiest one is losing to Georgia and Georgia.
No, it's not.
Listen,
I disagree. I think he's right.
This is only based on a two SEC playoff team.
If 3 gets in, it's a whole lot easier.
No, I'm saying if only one gets in, then what are you?
So you're saying it's
your whole scenario is gone.
Losing to Georgia and beating Georgia.
2 are in.
No, I'm saying
are they?
Just like
we can talk about the rest of this off there, but he's saying it's a greater risk.
Yeah, we should move on.
If they stay out of the SEC championship game against Alabama.
And I totally agree. That was my scenario
Alabama
earlier.
Smokes them.
Now you got
they're done.
But I'm saying this is all based on two SEC teams.
And they're one loss.
This is all based on two SEC teams getting in guaranteed.
We're thinking from a defeatist perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I get that, but that's what I had the same perspective earlier. So let's get to bet your nuts. Let's get on.
To Rob
we'll discuss this. People are tired of hearing this banter.
Yeah, I think Tennessee is in. If Tennessee goes,
that's why we should have led with this.
If Georgia goes undefeated, I think Tennessee
this would have been the entire show.
So, all right, I love this talk though. Think of it this way, Robbie. Tennessee or Georgia goes undefeated the rest of the way, Tennessee's in the playoffs. It's that simple.
Based on two SEC.
All right. Bet your nuts. And I'm going to give you a bet your nuts here in a minute. But I have got to look up the line to get it for you. But Robbie will be up all night thinking about it. Who's got the first bet your nuts? I'm going to look up my line.
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. So I have a couple here. Do you want NFL or college?
Give us
both. All right. So my NFL bet your nuts is Jets plus 1.5 at Broncos or versus Broncos. Russell Wilson, blah. He's just been terrible. Broncos defense is great, but even the Chargers beat them, which are not on the greatest side right now. So I love the Jets plus 1.5 here. My college, bet your nuts. I'm going to say Ole Miss plus 1.5 versus LSU. I mean, LSU's garbage this year.
Number 7 team in the country.
Hey, it's probably better if
Kidding
they
me?
lose and have a better chance for the championship.
I don't care. LSU's just
7 team in
complete
the country.
garbage. Ole Miss is on a mission. Plus 1.5. I mean, take the points all day on that. That's hammer that one hard. That's my favorite bet your nuts of the week.
All right, I got mine. I pulled it up. I just wanted to make sure the number is the same. And this got nothing to do with the playoffs. I think this team is coming, and I don't think anybody wants to play this team. And we've already talked about them. And they're a big number. They're laying a big number to Okie State. But I'm going to lay 6.5 in Texas against Oklahoma State because right now Texas is playing as well as anybody in the country. So I'm going to lay that 6.5 in Texas. Also, I'm going to take 21 points in Mississippi State. Alabama, Mississippi State. Give me Mississippi State plus 21 points. I just think that's a big number for Mike Leach. He scores 21. Can Alabama score 42? If he scores 28, can they score 49? I don't know. I like Mississippi State catching all those points. So those are my two. But my main one, Texas, laying 6.5.
So it's a little homer pick, but I got Titans -2. I don't believe in the Colts. Titans are getting their steam going behind them. Derrick Henry's finding his legs again. This is a must-win division game. Put a little separation. I like the Titans -2. They're better than the Colts, anyways, and
For sure.
that's a low number for a home team. So I really like this one.
I still ain't sure Jonathan Taylor's playing either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still very questionable.
He's highly questionable.
All right, Raj.
Dude, I'm going with Robbie and I's Purdue Boilermakers. Plus 2.5 at Wisconsin. Purdue winners of 4 in a row. Great balance.
They never
O'Donnell
lose.
and Maccabee. At Wisconsin, doesn't matter. The Badgers are pretty soft. I will take Purdue plus 2.5 all day, day.
Yeah. I like your Mississippi State call. That was on the docket as well for me. Plus 21. There's, especially after coming off that loss with Tennessee, I think Mike Leach is going to be a little hungry, and I think it's like a 10-point game, Bama.
They're just not playing well.
They're not.
I think
This is the most undisciplined team I've seen out of Nick Saban in his entire reign. Like they cannot get it together. They're highly talented. Now, don't get me wrong. Especially Bryce Young is just unbelievable. Offensive line struggles a little bit. Defense, I mean, penalties, special teams is the worst I've ever seen out of Alabama. It's not going to bode well for them.
I cannot tell you how much respect I have for Bryce Young. Robbie, you here or you are making a drink? So last words, everybody. I'll go first, and I'll talk a little bit. I had somebody text me and go, listen, I wasn't even at the Tennessee-Alabama game, but I've heard about it and talked about it enough until I feel like I was. And everybody's heard all the stories and all the excuses, but I want to talk about somebody that was in a crimson helmet. I have a list that I keep of the greatest players, and it's in my head, of the greatest players that I've seen play. And Sunday morning, I sat down and I was like, okay, where does he rank? Because he was that impressive to me. Where does Bryce Young rank? I put him 7th. And here's who he's behind. Tim Tebow is the greatest college football player I've ever seen play. Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, Peyton Manning, Reggie White, Bryce Young. So 6th. I mean, that's how great this guy is. he did things with the football that I've never seen people do with the football.
Reggie Bush?
I didn't see Reggie Bush live. These are
Sorry.
live.
My bad.
So, and the one that goes almost on that list, probably the one he moved back is Darren McFadden when he was at Arkansas.
Yeah. He was great in college.
Yeah. Bryce Young, I don't know that if I've seen anybody be able to do what Bryce Young did with the football. And it was just impressive.
USC commit, modern day high school.
Yeah, my experience.
Smart to leave USC.
My experience, too, with most of the Alabama fans was actually very well at the game. I ended up tailgating after the game with a bunch of Alabama. I tailgated with Alabama fans before the game and after the game. And they were the ones before the game were friends of mine. And I knew them well, and I was kind of a little bugged out doing it, but it turned out well. After the game, we just ended up with some random Alabama fans at our tailgate drinking beers with my buddies and eating barbecue. And they were so complimentary of how they'd been treated. That's my final word. You can win with class in this world. You don't have to be. If somebody comes to your stadium with a different color jersey on, 3.5 hours, you can want to beat their butts as much as you want to. And when the game's over, be happy, but don't make it on a personal level. I mean, and I've been on the road and been treated poorly. I was threatened in my car at the University of Georgia. As soon as I pulled into my parking lot, I was like, get out and we're going to beat you up. That stuff's not necessary. I've had very good experiences at the University of Georgia, too. So big games are a lot of fun. If fans choose to come to your arena, you can be as rough as you want to on for 3.5 hours. Just have a little respect after the game. Don't win with class. Win with class. I've had some very bad experiences traveling in the SEC. And
Florida?
Florida. I won't even talk about. But anyway, that's my final words. Win with class. Greatest college football experience of my lifetime. Raj Mehta. Brandon, you're going after Raj, and I'm not going to skip you this time. We'll let Robbie close it out.
4 things. 1, to your point, well, when SC was good, everybody was so nice to us because they figured they were going to get murdered. But I think Alabama fans knew that day was going to be different. I was at the Bush Push game, and Notre Dame fans afterwards were so nice. Offered us Chardonnay and cheese plates. Maybe that's just Notre Dame, but it did kind of show me another side. I was very young then to college football, the side that it should be, to your point. Number 2, tonight, Paolo Banchero, who was a total difference maker. Dude had 27, 9, and 5 assists. He is the epitome of the new breed. Orlando, I thought they hit it well with Jalen Suggs last year. Getting this kid's the rookie of the year. Great number 1 overall pick. He's just an absolute difference maker. Hopefully he stays healthy. Number 3, it's crazy that we talk about the rankings. And, we look, like we said, Ole Miss is number 7 in the country. They're playing at unranked LSU, and they're 2-point underdogs. 1.5, depending on your service. UCLA undefeated at Oregon, 9-10 in the AP. Oregon's a 6-point favorite. Texas, number 20 at Oklahoma State. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. Basically, it tells us the polls and the rankings are nonsense. Don't start ranking people at the beginning of the year because this is what happens, and it's just a joke. Finally, UFC 280 this weekend. As many know, I don't want to name drop. I'm just lucky to know my friend Benny Dariush, my friend by virtue of the fact of a very good friend from college, married his sister, who's super hot. If Benny hears that, I'm dead. But no, I met him 10 years ago when he was 20. No, I met him 11 years ago, 22. Now he's 33, and he's an old Southpaw veteran, which is a trip. He is an underdog, plus 160. Oliveira being the main card, the championship card, if you will. And it's just a great card. Lightweight being, in my opinion, the best class in UFC. So root for Benny because he's a great dude. and watch UFC this weekend because it's just a loaded card. The main card starts at 2 p.m. as it's in Abu Dhabi, which is also cool depending on your perspective. So those are my 4 things. Go Benny, and boo preseason rankings.
Also, the funnest sport to bet on, in my opinion, is UFC because it's over so fast. You're just placing bets one after another. So
I can't
it's a
bet
cool
with my
sport to
heart,
bet.
so I don't. But I'm loving Benny in this one.
You should try roulette, Randall.
I have. God, I can get addicted to it.
If you like it over so fast that it goes pretty quick.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Equally reliable.
Equally reliable. No, final words. This is why we need more teams in the playoffs. Now, I'm not an advocate for 12 teams, but I thought 8 would have been sufficient. But, where do you draw the line? Who knows? Preseason rankings are a farce. We all know that. It's based on money and, whatever.
Fodder.
Popularity, all this stuff. It's crazy. And that's why this year, really, I mean, the top 4 or 5 teams, it's a coin flip. There's no dominant team that can't be beat this year. Every team on that list can be beat this year, and some of them have been. So my final words, I don't know what the perfect answer is for that. It's more politics right now and popularity than anything, and you don't fall far if you lose one game because you're already pre-ranked. So that's a hard scenario. But man, something's got to be fixed or changed, or we'll see how this new system goes with 12 teams in the playoff. Because who knows? What if 2-loss team comes out and beats a undefeated Alabama or something. So I don't know. But as of right now, I like the old eye test. As of right now, the eye test says every team in this league can be beat. They've all have weaknesses, and it's going to be a fun season to watch.
That's what makes it possible for Tennessee to win a championship from unranked this year.
Absolutely. They're, like I said, top 4 for sure.
Yep. All right, Robbie Davis. It's still the greatest atmosphere I've ever been in.
By far, and please check out Randall and I's review about Neyland Stadium and the tearing down the goalpost. My final thoughts are, so finally, I talked to my wife. I told her that I wouldn't watch Tuesday Night Football and we could watch something else. And so we finally watched the Redeem Team. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. And I don't want to spoil it, but there will be tears in your eyes at the end.
I thought I mentioned this, but you're right with Kobe.
Yeah. So the Redeem Team is awesome. Second thing is, guys, I will be flying back to Vegas next Wednesday night. So I will not be here next week, but I want to wish you guys the best and the success. Also, Tom, get well. Hopefully you are here next week. Hopefully your sickness. I think we're all going to be going over through this, COVID sickness and then what COVID does to our body kind of thing. And so, it is what it is. Hope you get well, buddy. And then finally, for the first time in my adult life, I've came to work all week. The Vols to beat Alabama. It's fantastic. It's the first time since I've known my wife, we beat Alabama. It's crazy how long this has been, how long this stretch has been. And so it's something that I won't stop enjoying. At least
that's how Tom felt last year by
Yeah,
the
and
way.
they saw the
Sorry.
Titans lose. There's something bad
Sorry,
happening. Yeah, this is how Tom felt. But it wasn't that long. And
Eh,
but
It
yeah,
wasn't.
so it's been great.
What was it, like 28 years? How long has it been?
But what was the Ohio State Michigan streak?
No, you. Alabama, Tennessee.
Oh, it was 16.
15.
16 years.
15, yeah, 16 years.
Yeah,
Ours
15 in a
was-
row. This was 16 coming on it. Yeah.
Yeah, for
I think
Randall.
ours
and I
was
was
10, 8 or 10.
So-
I can't remember. I lost count.
Tennessee had a 9-game women's streak that led into this 15-game winning streak. That before that,
Pre-Saban, post-Saban, though.
Yeah. Like I don't remember the last time Tennessee won because it was so insignificant. And then
No, because you were on so many drugs as a kid.
well, never
Reckless
really goes,
speculation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sublanting.
But
Sublanting.
main thing is watch the Redeem team. It's awesome. It's just a great showing of USA basketball.
all right. So next
Raj told me about it, and he's like, I started crying, and I was like, oh no, and I was like, and I started
teared
crying.
up.
I was like, damn it.
But no, it's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy well done.
So next week we'll be doing our full preview of college basketball next week, not here.
When Robbie's not here.
Just kidding, Rob.
Oh wait, we're doing. Oh no, I'll come in from Vegas. I'll be in rare form in Vegas. I'll have money pulling out my pants pockets.
Hey, again, if you've not been to Knoxville for a game, there's a chance. I think the Kentucky game will be very loud.
Black and yellow, black and orange.
And out.
Black and yellow.
Black
Be a
and
lot
yellow.
of
Black and yellow.
So
The Wiz Khalifa.
and don't forget that UFC. I forgot Benny was fighting, and this weekend it starts at 2, right?
Yeah, good luck to Benny.
Yeah.
And if Benny
Yeah.
wants to come on afterwards, before anytime, or a
I've
month
asked.
later.
We have to deal with his publicist and his attorney and stuff. He's like, it's all lame. But initially,
Hey.
Randall and I asked right away. But
We have an attorney on here. He can do
it'll
all
happen.
the legal stuff.
It'll happen.
We have a whole legal team on here.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
We even have a business license somewhere.
I'm
Randall,
just the Speaker of the House.
for Randall Cunningham, for Robbie Davis, the Volunteers, and for the Ohio State Buckeye, Brendan Shane, and for
No identification. Just make me the Indian guy, please.
This is severe angry.
No more
person.
sports.
for the angry Indian guy, and our missing brother, man, Tom.
Tom, we do miss you.
We do miss you. We'll see you next Wednesday on Reckless Speculation. Good night.